2, 1. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Today is Friday. It's March 25th, 2022. Friday, woo! My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup. Look, I travel, and I still have a first cup mug to use. How cool is that? Thanks, Dennis. How are you? How was Thursday? Are you looking forward to Friday? Are you looking forward to the weekend? Did you do anything cool yesterday? Did you train? Did you go to class? Work out on your own? Do something else? I want to know. Good morning, Stacy and Jenny and Brian and Dennis and all of you, whether you're watching live later or listening. Thanks for joining me. I haven't touched this yet. I'm dying. For those of you who may be listening, Jenny just commented, BRB, Lilith, her daughter, pooped. Anything can happen on first cup. Oh, look at you getting into wardrobe. You're dressed better than I am. Oh, well, I had an absolutely wonderful day yesterday. Thank you to Dennis for facilitating. Had a great time in the city. Look at this guy. Look at dragging hoodie. Stacy, I'll give you more details later, but to the lot of you, I went to New York City to meet with Dan Millen, and we had lunch, and it was awesome. And I think we're friends. That's kind of neat. Brian says Devlin and his son, finished a show together, Raising Dion on Netflix. How was it? Stacy's describing Dennis's appearance as Enter the Dragon. That's kind of sweet. So I blocked off pretty much the last 3 days for this adventure, and completely worth it. I've got some stuff going on later today. I've got 2 meetings, 2 virtual meetings, one kind of after hours in-person sort of thing that I'm going to do in Burlington, come home, sleep, and then tomorrow headed over to KaeLeigh's because Craig is teaching there. So go hang out with everybody and maybe jump in, do some work. And looking forward to it. Other than that, I start seeds this weekend. Peppers this weekend. Peppers take forever. So we'll get those started, and I think there are a couple other things I gotta put in dirt. But other than that, it's a pretty low-key weekend. Oh, Dion. It's pronounced Dion. Raising Dion. Okay. Got it. What's that about? Coffee. Andy likes her sweatshirt. Oh, yeah. Cheers. Coffee, cheers.
Is it in the camera?
Yeah, there it is. I wasn't sure what you were doing. I was thinking, you're going to pour coffee on my laptop? That is unproductive. We've done that once on the show. We don't need to do that again.
I was there. Well, I was listening.
The adventures that we've been on together. It was a long day yesterday. It was only the 3rd time I'd ever been in New York City, and just wandered around. And that place is nuts. It's chaos. Remember, I come from a town of less than 2,000 people, and I think I was in stores with 2,000 people. And that's just... And of course, I'm the one walking around with a hiking backpack and change clothes and stuff in plastic bags, and they're all being New Yorkers. Although, one of the proudest moments, I told you, I had a guy ask me for directions. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not local, but thank you. Anything else going on? Talk to me, you guys. You guys are quiet. Premise of the show, per Brian, little boy gets powers from his dad, who is a scientist. Powers came from an event in Ireland. Learned it's based on a comic book. Oh, cool. With the rise of Marvel and financial success of all those movies and shows. It seems like every production house is looking for possibly the next big character or story. Walking Dead was a graphic novel. So many things started out as graphic novels, comic books today, and they're TV and movies. Yeah, we know the wife is still sleeping upstairs. We're being a little quiet. What else? Anything else to say? KaeLeigh says she's looking forward to seeing us tomorrow. Oh, from Iceland, not Ireland. Very different countries. Very different countries. People in Iceland are kind of badass. If you ever take a look, I mean, most of you know that I spent a lot of time in CrossFit, and I still pay attention to it, even though I don't participate anymore. Not that I might never again, but it's not really my day-to-day. As a population, I think Iceland is like 350,000 people. It's a very, very small country, and they absolutely dominate in CrossFit. And then if you factor in how they do based on per capita, they are miles ahead of everyone else. They have 3 of the most dominant women in CrossFit still, and some of them have been dominant for a decade. Yeah, Brian agrees. Very different. Anything else to say? I don't think so. Subways are crazy. Grand Central's insane. Anything else?
There was that guy when we first got into the subway that was talking to himself, well, actually arguing with himself, remember?
Didn't notice.
Oh.
There was a guy arguing with himself on the subway. You sure he didn't have earbuds in?
Maybe. But he was like,
I did see the guy drinking a beer on the train on the way out. That surprised me.
Yeah, on the commuter train.
Yeah.
Yep, they're allowed to do that. They actually sell it right there in Grand Central.
Oh.
Right home. Yep.
Okay. Well,
the whole culture.
I assumed drinking beer on a train was a thing that they weren't going to let you do. Not only did they let you do it, they encourage it and profit from it.
Of course.
What do I know? Everybody's wooing today. I think you've created an epidemic, a woodemic. You've created the first woodemic.
Woodemic. That's as good as the word John.
Jenny, I want you to know that Dennis was very sad yesterday that he was not able to use the word John on the show yesterday. It was possibly his biggest regret of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny says, as long as you're not driving the train. And woo is the new John. If you were, was this yesterday or the day before that we learned about John? It was recent. And for those of you listening, John, J-A-W-N, it's some Philadelphia catch-all word? I don't know. I'm going to have to go to Philadelphia, I guess, and figure this out. So, you guys posted some stuff. So let me read these. I asked yesterday on the Facebook group, facebook.com/firstcupofjeremy. How about the rest of you provide a heartwarming anecdote from your life this week? What really uplifting or kind stories from your own life or someone else's can we all enjoy? Jason kicked us off and said, while teaching class the other morning, we were playing the end of class game and a student falls down hard. Me, are you okay? Student, no. Me, getting ready for crying and walking over to assess any injury, but then interrupted by student, I'm not okay. I am awesome. Student resumes game. I love it. I love it. And then Stacy gave us a couple. First, from our meeting on Monday, listening to 5 super intense martial artists just absolutely lose it, casting themselves in various roles as muppets. Yes, it happened. Miss Piggy at your service. Hi-yah! I will say I have encouraged and possibly even bribed Stacy to attend her next breaking competition dressed as Miss Piggy and encouraged her to say hi-yah while she breaks. I mean, hypothetically. And then she also says, I have to say My favorite uplifting story for the week was watching a martial artist friend who also has CP, cerebral palsy, flip the roles and push her caregiver in the wheelchair she's usually in. Sammie loves being pushed around super fast at the end of her Taekwondo classes. Not this time. She challenged herself hard to be able to stand and push her friend for a bit. I know just how hard she worked to make that happen. It made my heart grow by 2 sizes at least. That's really cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing, both of you. So all these great woo comments going on. We might have to rename the show. First Woo with Jeremy. Although it would have to be you. If you ever take over the show, we'll rebrand it temporarily. First Woo.
Heartwarming story.
You have a heartwarming story? Come on over.
For a second.
Tell it.
For me, FRI-YAYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYY. For me, obviously, the most heartwarming story was spending the last 36 hours with you.
Aww.
And you saw how happy Sarah was to see you as well.
Thanks,
so, and in a few minutes, my stepson's going to come down. He's going to see the face and the voice he hears every morning live. How about that?
Oh, yeah. Jenny says, First Woo doesn't sound like a family show anymore. Yeah. Andy's asking, am I drinking tea? No, I'm drinking coffee. This will probably be my last cup of coffee for a few weeks. I had one yesterday, and I hadn't had coffee in a while, and it felt so, I was just like, it was amazing. Brian says, we got word from HR that our weekly testing will no longer be required as of April 1st, so that's a nice bit of news. Cool. Less stuff to worry about. Oh, you guys are sweet. Good morning. All right. You may not be awake enough to process.
He's put two and two together.
It happens every day wherever I am. It has to. All right. So Frank gave us some jokes, and then he actually gave us some really good stuff to talk about. So let's start off with the jokes. Oh, and this is worth sharing. Brian says, Jenny's little one had its first woo-poo this morning. Woo-John?
Woo-John.
Woo-John?
Yeah.
I don't know, it sounds like some Chinese name. Kelly says, I finished a self-defense class last night, and I always end with them breaking the board, and they were so pumped. That's awesome. The impact of that, I talk to people who teach martial arts to non-martial artists, like corporate gigs and stuff like that, and that is such a common way to end those classes, those sessions, because the just the reaction of someone breaking a board. Now, a lot of us know, these are smaller boards, they're lighter boards, they're not nearly as dramatic as a concrete block or some big thick board, but it's still so meaningful to them. And a lot of these people, even adults, they don't want to admit, but I've seen them, they kind of hide the two halves of the board, and they take them home, and they're like, look at what I did, I broke this in half. So cool. Jenny, I don't know if I can handle posting that comment, but I'll do it. Jenny says, Brian, yes, and it opened my eyes and nasal passages similar to the way a cup of coffee does. Oof. Stacy, who would know better than the rest of us? Breaking boards is so empowering. She knows all about breaking boards. All right, let's switch over to these jokes. Some of them, these are great, by the way. Some of them, for those of you watching, you'll get them better in writing. The jokes for Funday Friday. Once again, March is National Craft Month. There was a big controversy over my craft beer joke. It was a real brouhaha. How did the Jewish man make his craft beer? He brewed it. Inexplicably, there are random craft supplies scattered all throughout my living room. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if you can hear Dennis, but he's sitting right here giggling. What do you call a pilot who always flies the same plane? Very dedicated to his craft. What does a confused student at Hogwarts study? Witchcraft. WHICH. I'm doing a project at home and went to the local arts and crafts stores for 2 meters of Velcro. Wow, it is so expensive. What a ripoff. I feel like the meters was there for Daniel, who's not on the show today because he's got that new job.
Yeah.
But meters?
Yeah.
What a ripoff, Velcro. I love the jokes. The jokes are great. Thank you, Frank, as always. Jenny says, yesterday, I reached out to some amazing martial artists for assistance with something, and they were all wonderful. So we're here or watching later. Thank you again. I love the Whistlekick family. Yeah, it's a pretty cool group of people. Brian says, oh, yes, I remember those days. My oldest is now 20, and then 13, and then 9. Many diapers in the books. Fun times. My middle boy pooped in my hand while changing him, and I couldn't stop laughing while yelling for help from Renee. And Jenny, I mean, what we all think. Jokes are always amazing. Thank you, Frank. Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate Frank and his great jokes and the fact that, let's see, I'm going to guess Frank has provided us close to 1,000 jokes. If I think about every Friday and the jokes, number of jokes, it's well over 500, probably close to 1,000. Could be more than 1,000. I don't honestly keep forgetting when we started the show. Stacy says, joke, I told my husband I needed a bigger box to store my craft supplies in. He told me to stop calling the house a box. Yay. All right. So March is National Nutrition Month. And Frank's got some questions in here, some stuff that you guys might think about. Now, one of the things I try to do on the show is to connect what we talk about with martial arts. One of the things that has bothered me for a very long time is that in the conventional martial arts setting, I mean, not Olympic competition or high-level competition, people don't generally approach martial arts training as an athletic pursuit. We don't generally think about diet before, after training. We don't generally think about any protocol that assists us with our training beyond flexibility. We're like 99.9% in on flexibility, and everything else is just kind of out the window. And I don't get it. There are a number of things that I've looked at doing over the years, some things we've tried, experimented with that, eventually I think will likely come back as we grow because they were way premature. But I think if nothing else, if all of you consider your training session as a physical pursuit in the way that you might, let's say, running a race, and you think about food as fuel and an element of recovery for before and after, I think there's a lot of value there. You've been training a long time.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree?
100%.
You know the difference when you've eaten well through the day and then you go train versus when you ate nothing or whatever and then you go train.
100%.
Yeah, and I think we all know that difference, whether or not we implement that difference, because it's not easy. There's a reason pro athletes make a lot of money. Not only are they very good at what they do, but they are all in at 100% level on making their body what they are. The ones that don't, their natural talent is not enough to carry them long term, and they fall apart. Unrelated, Jenny says, whistlekick shirt idea. A first cup shirt that says, Woo John. Works for a coffee mug too. In my brain, it's some modification of most of you know my penchant for hip hop music, the Wu-Tang logo in some way. We might have to do that. So, and while none of the members, well, actually, I don't know most of their real names. I know some of their real names, but I don't think anybody's real name is John, but one of them has an alias that does use the word John. So might be able to make something with that. And so these questions Frank's asking about nutrition, I'm not suggesting that you should all just wholesale change what you're doing, but I'd like you to consider what we're talking about as it relates to your training. So number one, what do you think of the various protein bars out on the market, such as RX bar, Lara bar? Do you have a favorite? I really like the RX bars because I liked the RX bars and then I got bored with them because I ate way too many. I really like the Lara bars because the ingredients are so simple. They've got, I think it's the cashew cookie one has 2 ingredients. It's like almond butter and cashews, and that's it. And I think that that's great. You have a box of them somewhere? Oh, you've got some? The one, I've had these are really good. Right? And to me, I'm looking at ingredients. Is it food? And a lot of them, you get down towards the bottom and you're like, I don't even know what this is, right? Most of what's in here is pretty solid. So to me, you eat one of these when you can't have food. The difference is when someone says, I'm going to choose not to eat food, I'm going to have a bar. I think that's the issue. Now, I try to keep stuff like this in my car because I know if I get hungry, let's say I go somewhere and a meeting goes longer than I expect or whatever, and I don't have the opportunity to eat when I expect to eat, I'm much more likely to make a bad decision. I'm much more likely to go somewhere and buy food that I really didn't want to. And we've all been grocery shopping when we were hungry. We make bad decisions when we're hungry. And that's where I think these are most valuable. I can also see if you are very busy on a short term and you don't have time to make food, there can be some value here. But I would suggest that if that is happening frequently enough that this is part of the conversation, that something needs to adjust in the way that you are handling food, right? Well, I make dinner. We'll make double and bring half for lunch the next day, right? Like there are plenty of ways you could do this that don't take really more time, okay? Look at the ingredients. So there's a big difference. Let's see if this is what I'm remembering it is. This isn't a bar, but Premier Protein makes bars as well. When I get into here, this one's a little more challenging because a lot of what's in here is vitamins. They do break it out. Can you see that list? There's quite a list of ingredients there. But even above the vitamin mineral list, sodium hexametaphosphate, dipotassium phosphate, tripotassium phosphate. I don't know what any of those are. Carrageenan, that's a binding agent. It's to thicken this stuff. Acesulfame potassium, cellulose gel, inulin. Inulin's a fiber. They're trying to thicken this up because otherwise it's probably to thicken it and keep it so it's not. It doesn't. You still have to shake it, but it's probably so it's not separated too much. This is the challenge with this stuff is, yeah, it's got protein. Yeah, it tastes good. Yeah, it will sate your thirst, your hunger, but there's a lot of junk in there. And so it's not a never, it's a use appropriately. That's how I look at it. What nutritional advice could you give people who have digestive issues? Focus on vegetables. Get really comfortable with identifying which vegetables work well for you. Some will work better raw, some will work better cooked. Digestive issues are based on really 2 main things: the food that is being digested and the bacteria that is doing the digestion. Because remember, a lot of the digestion going on in our body, and this is going to full circle in a real fun way, a lot of digestion going on in our bodies is related to the bacteria in our intestine. And for those of you who have had babies, you know that very early on in a baby's life, the consistency of output is dramatically different for the first few weeks until their microbiome, their gut bacteria actually happens, until they have some. Because when they come out, they don't have any there because there wasn't any need because they weren't digesting, right? Like belly button, umbilical cord. And I think one of the best things to do, and we rarely do this, if you're trying to suss out foods that are problematic, just eat one. Just eat one at a time. Have a snack of just that thing. And over the next hour or two, how do you feel? Keep a notebook. Take a log. What's going on, right? I know that beans do not work well for me, for example. I just know. I know how I feel. And it's not just the jokey part that, we're all used to. Like my stomach, and it's all legumes. Peanut butter does that to me. I get really swollen. And beans have we don't need to talk about that. But if I was only ever eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I might assume it's the bread. I might assume I have a gluten intolerance, for example. But I know because I've eaten peanut butter off the spoon and gone, oh, wait a second. That was my snack, and now I feel funny, right? So tracking that back, I think, is really helpful. And this plays into my answer for the third question. What do you think would be a good nutritional approach for people with ADHD? We have this habit in Western medicine where we draw a really hard line in the various parts of the body. I do not do that. I do not believe that is a good way to approach it, much in the way that with martial arts, like, oh, well, this is a karate technique. This is a taekwondo technique. This is a kickboxing technique. This is a Muay Thai technique, right? There's so much overlap that instead of trying to restrict, I think trying to blend makes more sense. That's all to say, there are really interesting things going on. So we talked about the microbiome, the bacteria in our gut. There's medical research going on right now, and some even beyond research stage, with what are called fecal transplants. Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. Yep, super gross. But they are literally curing everything from dementia, diabetes, and a variety of other things with this process. We barely understand what's going on with the gut, with bacteria in our gut, our digestive system, and have... Timmy says, I love how you drew that circle to Lilith's poop. Hey, I'll do what I can. I'll do my best. Instead of saying, we don't know, so let's not try, I'm the other way. We know that good digestive health is good for us. Nobody wants ADHD. I'm not saying it's not real. I have it, okay? But I also know that there are certain things that exacerbate it. It's movement and it's food. If I move enough, I'm better off. If I'm eating junk, it's way worse. We know that a lot of those hard to read chemicals impact the microbiome dramatically. I've told the story, I'll tell it again. There's a 0-calorie soda called Zevia, made with stevia that has some other things. And it tastes really good. No calories. Actually was a sponsor of CrossFit stuff, and that's where I learned about it. And I was like, oh, they're actually pretty tight with what they will allow. Although the very first CrossFit Games was sponsored by Panda Express. They got away from that. And it took me 2 weeks to figure out that within an hour of having one of these cans of soda, I was kicked into depression. Like full on, I felt like crap and couldn't get anything done the rest of the day. To the point where I gave it away. I had it was on sale at the store. I bought a case and I had a dozen plus cans left. I gave it to somebody. I was like, I can't do this. My body's not reacting well. It was that rapid. And not that I haven't been depressed since, but that midday depression went away. It wasn't going on again once I did that. And I tried to isolate it to what chemical was in there. There were a handful of things it could have been. But these are things that are generally accepted, generally recognized as safe, which is an actual list that the FDA maintains. So I think even for something like ADHD, where societally we just kind of chalk it up, yep, this is a thing, and if people have it, they have it. It's still worth experimentation. Just because it may never go away does not mean it doesn't have shades of gray. It can be better and worse. Jenny agrees. So much of our health comes back to our gut. I believe over the next 20 years, we are going to have so much progress in this area that, we've all probably seen the rush of supplements around prebiotics. We're going to have targeted prebiotics designed to address specific concerns, because we're going to figure out, oh, you're deficient in this bacteria, just as you're deficient in vitamin C or whatever. And there's a good chance that most of those supplements are not going to be oral. Yeah. There's a good chance, because it's really difficult. There's one I need to do some more research, but there's a new prebiotic on the market that claims to have built it in the coating in such a way that it will survive the stomach. Because that's what happens to most of them, is they break, the capsule breaks down in the stomach, or the whatever breaks down in the stomach, and the stomach acid destroys most of it. There's still some value from what I'm reading, but it's not nearly as valuable as if you can get live stuff going on in it. How do you get live stuff going on in there? Eat as much on the fermented side as you can, yogurt and sauerkraut, and you also eat things that have fiber so bacteria can feed on them. Raw vegetables, cooked vegetables, lowish sugar fruits, like just, you're not focused on juice. You're like, I'm going to eat an apple, that kind of stuff. So there you go. Jenny says, I wish we could have that progress now. We may not have the research on a broad base, but it doesn't mean that you can't do the experimentation yourself. The number one thing you can do here, this is the number one tool that you need to figure out, no, I'm not suggesting you put this anywhere. The number one tool that you can use to figure out what works and doesn't work for your body. It's a piece of paper and a pencil or pen on your counter, and you write down what you eat, and then you make notes about how you felt a few minutes after and an hour after. And then before you go back and eat something again, you reflect back. Okay, yeah, how did I feel? Okay, so I had a salad, and this was what was in the salad. I felt really good. The last time I had a salad, let me check, flip. I didn't feel as good. What's the difference between the two salads? Is there something there? I put almonds on that salad. I didn't put almonds on this salad. Let me have a handful of almonds and nothing else for an hour, and let me see how I feel. I feel pretty good right now. Eat almonds, and 30 minutes later, you're like, oh, I don't feel bad, but I wouldn't say I feel good. I definitely feel worse than I did before I ate the almonds. So maybe there's something going on with almonds, right? And the problem with the way Western medicine handles this, the reason I think this is so much better, is they chalk everything up to these food sensitivity tests that have a wide margin of error. So there's no better indication than how you feel. So there we go. I'm not a doctor. Don't listen to anything I say, because I'm completely wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about. And I've not been to medical school. And Jenny says, this is the way I approach everything I eat now. I have to track everything I eat and watch for symptoms in every area of my health. It's something that I think is really good to do for a while, intensely, for everyone. If you took 30 days and you did this, yeah, it'd be exhausting, but you would learn. It doesn't mean that you never have almonds again. It means that almonds aren't great for you. So you stop eating almond butter and marmalade sandwiches 3 meals a day. It's a reference to another episode earlier this week. Here we go. I like when you guys give me questions like this, because this is stuff that I'm really interested in, and I don't get to talk to most people about it because most of the people in my life don't want to know that the reason they feel like crap is because they're eating foods that are not good for them. Yeah, but this is a good food. Almonds are good for you. Well, for most people, yeah. We really should make like a first cup shirt with some of the inside jokes. And if anybody wants to tackle that, a rough draft of that, feel free to put together some designs, and I'll help you refine it, and we'll put it out there. So, have a great day, everyone. Great weekend. I will see you back here Monday. Excuse me. Andy says, "What are the bars you were showing?" This is a brand that I've had some of, and they're decent. One, you should be. I've seen these at the grocery store. My favorite ones are the Lara bars, mostly because I like the texture. The RX bars are also pretty good, and they've got those ingredients are really solid, but they're firmer. And let's face it, I live in the Arctic, so those bars kept in my car are impossible. It's like trying to eat a brick. Okay, there we go. Have a great day, weekend. I'm going to see some of you tomorrow. And I'll hopefully see everyone back here on Monday. Remember, if you want to support, patreon.com/whistlekick. I will likely be posting something in there today. I'm going to begin the ride home. I've got a couple calls today that I'm going to get to, probably from home, probably not out and about. So watch for that if you are in Patreon. You've also got the code FIRSTCUP15 to get something like this mug, the First Cup mug. And I think this is an early version because the logo's here. We fixed it. I've got a whistlekick mug that's on the end like this because I didn't know what I was doing when we first started doing this stuff. So, collector's edition.
Nice. I have another one upstairs because I bought two of them.
You can't get this one anymore. And if you want the whole list, it's whistlekick.com/family. Watch for the post I'm going to put up shortly. If you've got stuff to say for the show, things to respond to, facebook.com/firstcupwithjeremy. If you don't do Facebook, email me, jeremy@whistlekick.com. Remember, we do it every weekday, 6:30 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Facebook, YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's Twitter, Tuesday, Thursday, Twitch. We added a second Twitch follower yesterday. We're coming up. Super excited. All right. Thanks for coming by, everyone. Take care. Be well. I'll see you soon. Do you want to say goodbye?
I guess I should.
Because they don't get to see you in person.
I'll see you guys soon. Have a great
Bye.
weekend, everybody.